Good afternoon, YouTubers. Welcome back in to another edition of Astros Recap. David Artis back at it here for another year of Astros baseball. This is my annual off-season report. It is February 3rd, 2023, 3:16 p.m. So whenever you may be watching this. Before I actually get into Astros talk, off-season news here, new mic right here. Here's my new mic. New microphone. So, the microphone issues I've had in the past, hopefully that's not an issue. I know that a lot of the podcasts I listen to, or before I actually put them out on YouTube, I usually try to listen to them to make sure the audio sounds fine. And I can't control, and I have no idea, but we had the staticky issue, so hopefully with this new microphone, I have no issues. It's a super heavy, durable microphone here, so hopefully that is good. But anyway, so we talk about off-season news for the Astros. It's always hard after I've taken you. I talked to you early November after the Astros won the World Series. I knew I wasn't going to get back on it. Maybe sometime in January. Here we are now, it's February, so got the World Baseball Classic in March. That'll be fun. We're only a month away from a lot of this, so I feel like the short off-season, obviously a little shorter. Obviously, you play to Game 6 of the World Series. Season was pushed back, so that all sort of takes place. But, we've gone through December, now January, and here we are after, really, 2-3 months? December, January, 3 months, basically. We're looking at, 3 months. And it's, we're getting ready for, a lot of the players start reporting to the spring training coming up in about 2 weeks here. And then a lot of them that are participating in the WBC will be moving, on. So, but I get, the World Baseball Classic is a fun thing for me. So I'll be definitely interested in watching Team USA, rooting for them. Yeah, good teams: Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Japan, Cuba is a team to watch out for. I won't get into the WBC talk, but that's what's sort of coming next in terms of baseball. The Astros, we talked about. I try to pick up where I left off, and it's always hard. We talked about the disconnect front office. James Click is gone, so he basically got fired. James Click, after re-signing Dusty Baker to a one-year deal, which was surprising to me. I thought Dusty would run off into the sunset. He run off on top. He won his World Series. That was the one sort of thing missing from his managerial resume, was the World Series, which he got. So I thought he'd be done, but apparently he wants to manage again. So one-year deal with Dusty, him being in his mid-70s at this point, it is a year-by-year thing. So it's a one-year deal for Dusty. And then James Click's contract was also up. And they offered him a one-year deal, I think, knowing he wouldn't take it. One-year deal for a GM that just won a World Series. That's kind of disrespectful. I think they expected him to turn that down, which he rightfully did. And I think that's a problem. We'll see here. Some of the newer news I can bring to you is the Astros just hired their new GM. So they didn't really have a GM there for quite a while. I don't know the exact date. James Click got fired, I will say, or turned down the one-year offer. Anyway, you want to look at it, he basically, I think, got fired. Yeah. However, James Click was a good GM, I felt like. Obviously, Jeff Luhnow, you go back to the whole firing. Usually the way this works for an organization is you bring in a GM, then a manager. The Astros hired their manager, then their GM. So that might have been where the disconnect was, I mentioned earlier. I don't know if it was something with James Click, Dusty Baker, if Jim Crane was involved somehow. We might never know the answer to that, but very rarely, it never happened, where a team wins a World Series and the GM doesn't return the following year. So James Click shouldn't have an issue getting a job. I don't know what he's doing now. If he's unemployed, I don't know what his thing is now, but bottom line is he's gone. Dusty Baker's back, and the new GM now is Dana Brown, whose recent... Only way I can grade these GMs is based on what they did previously. So apparently James Click had worked with Tampa Bay, a team that always is relevant every year, even though they have like no payroll. And I respect that. Dana Brown's apparently vice president of scouting for the Atlanta Braves. So that sounds good to me. Brad Ausmus was a guy that was floated around. I don't need him making my player decisions. And I definitely, no disrespect here, but Jim Crane, who was sort of playing GM there for a while, was like reporting, taking info from Reggie Jackson and Jeff Bagwell. I don't need them making my player decisions either. They haven't made any huge moves. One big move we'll talk about here in a minute, but yeah. I don't need Reggie Jackson, Craig Biggio, Jeff Bagwell in my decision-making process there. So, no disrespect, but I like GMs that never played, or if they played, I like GMs that have names I've never heard of. Dana Brown fits that criteria, so we'll see what he does here. He just got the job like a week ago, so but we'll see what he can do. But I think he had back-to-back. Jeff Luhnow, obviously, he's a genius. He's just, yeah. I mean, unbelievable what he did. His time here. Unfortunately, he got, fired. But, yeah. But James Click filled in nicely. I mean, he had a lot of players. Obviously, the team was loaded with what Jeff Luhnow brought in. And, I mean, he made moves each trade deadline that improved the team. And I couldn't sit here and be upset with what James Click did. So we'll see Dana Brown here. Moves, there's so many moves I could get into. With the winter meetings have come and gone. That's usually when a lot of moves take place. I'll try to focus on the big ones, but for the Astros standpoint, one of the moves they made right after the season ended, James Click move after... Not James Click move. This is Jim Crane move after James Click was fired. He re-signed Rafael Montero. That one, I'm not upset with. Maybe a little surprised with. It's a 3-year deal. Don't know the exact numbers on that, but it's 3 years. And I just felt like the bullpen's loaded. Brian Abreu, who was stepped up huge second half of the year, playoffs even better. I thought he'd sort of roll in as the 8th inning setup guy to Presley. But Montero had that role for the majority of the year and did very well. So I'm not upset with re-signing Montero. I just didn't think it'd probably happen. And you still have Neris there. But you can't have too many setup guys. So between Neris, who I'm not super thrilled, like Neris scares me when he's in the game. But I'm fine with Montero and Brian Abreu. So you got 3 guys you can turn to possibly in the 8th inning to get you sort of bridge the gap there to Presley. So there's that. There's the big one was the Jose Abreu. So the Astros signed him for the from the White Sox. So Abreu, I like it from a hitting standpoint, not defensively, because Yuli Gurriel's defense at first base was he was a Gold Glove winner. Nothing got by him. I felt like if he threw it low, he was going to dig it out 99.9% of the time. So missing that defense, because Abreu scares me playing first base because I don't think he's a very good defender. Only time will tell here, but yeah, we'll see. But that was the big signing for the Astros. They didn't make any huge. They didn't really need any huge big signings. Center field was an issue, and it still is an issue because they haven't solved the problem out there. It's still Chas McCormick, and we'll see what Jake Myers can bring. I still think Jake Myers has more potential than Chas McCormick. We know what McCormick is. He's a guy that plays a good defense. Obviously made that big Game 5 game-saving ninth inning catch, so that's something you can never take away. But we can't look to that catch and make that like a reason why we keep him on the team. I mean, when opening day starts, everything that happened last year is now past, gone, done with. But Chas McCormick is not the everyday answer in center field. He's just not it. I mean, you go look at the batting average last year. You look at the strikeouts. You look at he's just not a good hitter. He'll pop a home run every now and then, so he's got some pop the occasional time he actually makes solid contact. But he strikes out way too much to be an everyday guy. The average might middle in the low 200s somewhere. He's not. I've seen Chas McCormick enough to know he's not the answer. He's not an everyday. He should not be an everyday guy. Jake Myers, who actually when he came up back in 2021, actually showed he showed the pop. He showed the. He looked good. Like he could be an everyday guy. So I think he gets another shot. Hopefully, he gets another shot. We'll wait and see on that. But center field's not really figured out. We'll see if anything changes coming up here. I think the Astros draft-wise have selected outfielders knowing that might be a potential issue. But center field is where I think the big hole in the lineup is. So right field, Kyle Tucker still hasn't been extended, so we'll wait and see there. Also, the arbitration process, which he's, I guess, taking a part of. You have all these deals where the Astros make offers to players to avoid arbitration, but Tucker and the Astros didn't come to an agreement. So I don't know what takes place, but he should be here for the next 2 years. And then he's a free agent after that, so wait and see. But yeah, center field wasn't figured out. You know, Brandon Nimmo was the free agent. The Mets re-signed Brandon Nimmo. He would have been a guy that I think would work well center field, but that didn't happen. So they're sort of stuck with what they got. I think it'll be some mix of Jake Myers, Chas McCormick. I would bring them both to spring training, which they both will be, and whoever hits better there should get the job. And yeah, I've liked Jake Myers. I know the big injury he had in the playoffs and coming last year, mid-season, midway through, not playing well, being sent back to the minors, being called back up towards the end of the season, and then it was basically just, Chas McCormick in the playoffs. So, yeah. Other move, Michael Brantley, re-signed. So Brantley, obviously, it's a 1-year deal, $12 million. Well, Brantley, what will be his sort of role? Left field, obviously, is his position, but for some reason, I don't agree with this. But they love, and I think I've mentioned this numerous times, they like playing Yordan Alvarez out in left field. I just think that's, I don't like Alvarez playing really any position. I'd like him to just be the full-time DH, worry about hitting. Basically what David Ortiz was for the Red Sox. I don't need him risking injury out playing, left field or anything like that. I just don't want to see him play the outfield. But that's something I'll never agree with. They're going to play him in left field half the time at least. So, but Brantley's here. Brantley's back. And he's a bat that needs to be in the lineup. So if he's not in left field, what is he going to DH? Or, the Astros don't have a full-time designated hitter, so Brantley, I guess, could fill that. Obviously, the injury history there, maybe it's better if he's a DH, but that's a bat that needs to be in the lineup if he's healthy. He's still rehabbing. Apparently it's going well. He should be ready from everything I've heard. Haven't heard much, but from everything I have heard, opening day he should be ready to go. So that's Michael Brantley back. Jose Abreu signed. Montero signed. They're letting, obviously Mancini's gone. I think he went to the Cubs. Lemnis Diaz, another guy, couldn't stay healthy, but when was healthy, terrific utility guy. Better than Marwin Gonzalez, especially the last year he was here, which was 2018. Marwin Gonzalez was not very good. From an offensive standpoint. And Diaz, when healthy, big if and when was healthy, was good. So I don't know who takes over the utility spot. Maybe, I'm still doing tours here, so the Astros have been doing a lot of workouts, and David Hensley's been a guy that seems to be there every day. So maybe he's gonna get the shot at being utility player for the Astros. We'll see. Trying to think, probably missing something else, but you got Dusty Baker back, obviously. Dana Brown, we'll see what moves he's in charge of. They lost Christian Vasquez as well. He's now with the Minnesota Twins, I want to say. Could be wrong, but I think the Twins signed him. Diaz went to the A's. Trey Mancini went to the Cubs. Jake Odorizzi, well, he got traded to the Braves at the deadline. He's now the Rangers. The other moves that were made, Will Smith was not re-signed. I don't think any team wants him at this point. And who was the other guy they got? I just said. So Mancini, Vasquez, and Will Smith were the three acquisitions at the deadline. We just said Vasquez to the Twins. We just said Mancini to the Cubs, and Will Smith, is in no man's land. So there's that. I'm trying to think. But from the Astros standpoint, that's the big move. I'm going to leave things out here because it's just hard to go. I can't find a website that will give me every big move. I do have a website here. I can go through some players. So, I could spend days on this, but Judge did re-sign with the Yankees for like $380 million, I think, or $360 million. So congratulations, but the Yankees aren't better than the Astros, and they haven't been for the last 10 years. Or we're going to count 2015, last 8 years, whatever. But bottom line, the Yankees can't be the Astros in the playoffs. So Trey Turner goes to the Phillies on a $300 million deal. So Xander Bogaerts got signed by the Padres for $280 million. Carlos Correa, that was the biggest. He was in the news forever because he initially signed with the Giants after opting out with Minnesota. That deal fell through. The physical apparently didn't pass the physical, so that fell through. And then he wound up on the Mets. They had physical issues there. That deal fell through. Finally re-signs with the Twins. So felt like Carlos Correa was in the news for a month because all these teams. He went to, initially the Giants, who were actually in on Aaron Judge, but that didn't work. I don't know what the Giants, they might be sort of falling apart here after their amazing 2021 year falling flat. They were like 81-81 last year, something like that. And then they haven't really made moves, and they've lost guys, so. Or they lost Carlos Rodon. Rodon went to the Yankees, so there's that. How good will Rodon be? We'll see. Jacob deGrom went to the Rangers. Can he stay healthy is a big question there. We said Trey Turner to the Phillies, right? Yeah. Dansby Swanson to the Cubs. Brandon Nimmo stays with the Mets. Edwin Diaz stays with the Mets. Wilson Contreras from Chicago to St. Louis. Obviously, the Astros lost Justin Verlander to the Mets. Benintendi from the Yankees to the White Sox. Taijuan Walker to the Phillies. Jameson Taillon to the Cubs. Chris Bassett to Toronto from the Mets. Abreu, we just said Jose Abreu to the Astros. Not going to go through all these guys. I could take forever here. And Nathan Eovaldi from Boston to Texas. So Texas has been making moves. They're going to try to compete. I don't know how well it'll work out, but we'll. I think the Mariners are still the team to beat, or not. The Mariners look at the Astros. There's no team to beat for the Astros. They are the class of the AL West. So I'm not going to get into that. Kershaw stays the Dodgers. Justin Turner, Dodgers to the Red Sox. Andrew Heaney was another guy the Rangers picked up. Shamanai goes to San Francisco along with Ross Stripling. Jose Quintana to the Mets. We just said, Christian Vasquez to Minnesota. Martin Perez stays with the Rangers. Jock Peterson stays with the Giants. Bellinger, Cody Bellinger. The Astros were actually high on him. I don't know why. I would not want Cody Bellinger if he was the best player on the planet. But Bellinger went to Chicago Cubs. Gene Segura from Philly to Miami. Again, I'm just trying to find the big names here. We said Diaz to Oakland. Trey Mancini to Chicago. Noah Syndergaard to L.A. Dodgers. Brantley back with the Astros. Mike Clevenger from San Diego to Chicago White Sox. J.D. Martinez to the Dodgers. Craig Kimbrell to Philadelphia. Let's see here. Greinke back with Kansas City for another year. Will Myers to Cincinnati. Again, I could go through. I'm not even halfway done here. I'm not going to get into everybody. I do know the Mariners acquired Teoscar Hernandez. Don't know why the Blue Jays didn't want him anymore, but for some reason that will help that team. That's the Astros challenge, I guess you'd say, in the AL West next year. The way I see things now, the Angels will still be the Angels. They've done nothing, so I don't know what their issue is, but for some reason they just don't do things. So Will Harris, free agent, Washington. I'd love to bring him back. I don't know what his... Will Harris is one of my favorite pitchers of all time. But injured the last 2 years. I mean... And the Astros didn't sign him. So... But he had signed a 3-year deal with the Nationals. And he's a free agent right now, so... I don't know if you can resurrect his career, but he was the Astros' most consistent reliever that they ever had. Yes, me. Yeah, I'll stop things there. So, wanted to give you an off-season update. New GM, signing Jose Abreu, bringing back Michael Brantley, Rafael Montero. We'll see what else happens. Spring training, players will report, as I mentioned here, in a week or two. And then we'll move into the World Baseball Classic, which is something I'll talk about that. So I do a spring training report by the end of spring training, but expect me on before that because I plan to talk World Baseball Classic because that's something I do get into, and I watch all the games and check out the teams and the countries, and I root for Team USA obviously, but I like to keep up, and it's a fun thing that sort of sets us up for regular season baseball that happens in March. So obviously the Astros or the USA won back in 2017. The team before that, Japan usually won. The Dominican Republic won, I think, in 2009. I think Japan won the years before that. They've only done this 3 or 4 times because it's a Olympic type thing every 4 years. But I'll root for Astros players. I'll root for not Carlos Correa. Let's see, who will be on Team Cuba? Alvarez, obviously. I'll root for him. I'll root for Astros players, but not those specific teams. So, but yeah, the Team USA, the players seem loaded. The guys that have committed to playing, Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, a lot of guys that didn't play in the past seem to want to play this year, and that'll be fun. But USA will not be an easy team to beat with the players I've heard that have committed to playing. So, but that's when I probably most likely will speak to you again. So it'll be another month or whatever. If it's February 3rd right now, it'll be early March when the World Baseball WBC starts. So it'll be something I'll talk about that will lead into the Astros season, basically. So the Astros might have Presley playing for them. Alex Bregman did play in the last one, so we'll see that. We'll see who else enters the mix for the Astros. Maybe Lance McCullers gets a look. We'll wait and see. But the Astros do have quite a few, I think, playing for their respective teams. So, trying to think here. Like Jeremy Pena would play for the Dominican Republic, maybe? And I think he's committed to playing. Or it might be Mexico. Not exactly sure. But he's committed to playing. Altuve, obviously, Venezuela. So, Abreu would be, Dominican, maybe? I know Alvarez, Cuba, obviously. Kyle Tucker might play for Team USA. I think he's committed to playing. So, I don't want to get too far into WBC, but that's something I will be talking about and breaking down. So, but anyway, new microphone. We're going to see how this sounds here coming up. Same room, same setup. Everything else is the same. Just new, better microphone. So, but I'll wrap things up there. I probably left a lot of moves out, but I'll wrap around to those next time maybe. But yeah, I'm trying to keep these also short and sweet. So 26 minutes there for you. But I'll wrap things up there. Love to hear your comments section below. Like the video, share it with your friends. All the good stuff. We're here for another year, so look for me. Subscribe. You'll get the video updates every time they're released, and we'll talk to you next time.